Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. We got it right this time. Welcome to another episode of True Story Live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm one of your hosts on the panel, Jason Cripps. And as usual, I have a lovely panel with me today. And for the topic tonight, we're going to be getting into Paradise. What a life. And we'll get into that in just a moment. If you're listening to playback and you do not care about the frivolities at the beginning and the introduction of the panel and saying hello to the chat, you can skip forward to about the 10-minute mark and we will begin the topic and go over the description. So first, from left to right, I will introduce the amazing, the intelligent, but often irritating Glenn. Glenn, welcome.
Funny. That's what I was thinking of the host.
Yeah, I know, right? See, here's the beauty of it, Glenn. You know, when you're being authentic and you have a relationship with someone, you can say stuff like that because, you know, you're in a safe place, right?
Oh, excruciating. I'm just saying hi and shutting up.
I snorkeled a little bit there. That doesn't happen very often. That was pretty good.
No, you did well. You did well there. You did well.
Thank you. We're glad to have you, Glenn. In all seriousness, we definitely appreciate you being part of the show. Wouldn't be the same without you. So thanks for showing up tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And the lovely ukulele playing artistic shop owner, Jen.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
How are you? Do you have your ukulele with you?
No, I need to cut my nails.
Okay.
I haven't played in a few weeks. It's just slacker.
We missed it.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
Okay.
I'll bust it out one of these days. Surprise you guys.
I know. That'll be nice.
You won't do it.
Is it a challenge?
Yeah, Joseph challenge. You're up next, Joseph. So be careful.
All right, pal.
Thanks for being here, Jen. Did you have a good day today?
I did. It was kind of rainy and thunderstorms, but I love the rain and thunderstorms, so it was lovely.
It was here too. Rainy
Nice and relaxing.
Yeah, nice and relaxing.
Yes.
You don't need a YouTube soundtrack for that. If it's actually raining, then you just open your window and enjoy.
Yes, exactly.
Thanks for being here, Jen.
You're welcome.
Joseph, say hello, sir. How are you?
Hey, hello. Yeah, same here, man. It was thunderstormy and just an incredible day.
Yeah.
Love it.
What made it incredible for you?
In all honesty, just learning more about soaking in God's goodness.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm being straight up, just the last few days, just been chilling out and resting, man.
Resting.
It's great. Yeah.
Gosh, we could do a show about that topic, couldn't we?
Right.
On resting.
Dude.
Yeah.
Amen.
Resting in all the different ways that people think it means. That would be a topic.
Right. Praise God.
Welcome,
Yeah.
Joseph. We appreciate
Thank you.
being here, buddy.
Always.
How do you like being a part of the TSL panel?
Me?
I don't know if I've asked you that.
I love it. It sharpens me. It keeps me honest.
Yeah.
Actually. Yeah, it does.
It does the same for me too. You wouldn't think it would, but it does. All these conversations that we have. I was telling Jen, you know, some of the topics we talk about, it puts you in a place of kind of trying, at least in some ways. We're not trying to tell other people how to have conversations, but we're in some ways setting an example that you can disagree on certain things and still talk about it and have a dialogue, an open dialogue. No one gets upset and runs off. And you can talk about whatever subject comes up, and it's okay. I mean, I don't think anyone has ever left angry from any of our conversations. You know?
No.
Yeah.
I can't honestly say that I have either.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. Good stuff.
Yeah, I know last week we had a little issue with some things in the chat and all that, but we smoothed over it and nobody left angry. So that's good.
No, I can honestly say no.
Yeah. Joseph, we appreciate you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Paula, how are you tonight? Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing great. How are you, Jason? Hey, everybody.
Hey, Paula.
That's good. Fantastic is a good way to be.
That's true. Did you have a good Sunday? Did you rest today?
You know what? I've been dragging my feet all day because I got up way too early. Way earlier than I normally get up because I had acid reflux really bad.
Whoa.
No.
And I don't usually get it, but I had shrimp last night. I'm
There
wondering
it is.
if that did it.
Was it fried?
It was, yes.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
how I
something.
liked it.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's the
And
worst.
I don't eat it very often, so I'm not even really sure if it was that, but
Yeah.
I couldn't. You know how you can't lay down because it's like right there in your throat.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had to get it up, and I was not ready, so
Mm.
I had to actually make a little bit of coffee before I got on here. Hopefully,
Yes.
I'll perk up.
I did the same.
Yeah,
Oh, good.
So
good.
did I.
she did. Do you have the full octane or the decaf coffee, Paula?
No, it's just regular coffee, but I only made like half a cup, and I'm barely sipping it because I really don't want to stay up late.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, we appreciate you, Paula. Thanks for being here. How do you like being on the panel thus far?
I like it. It's stretching my brain a little bit.
Okay.
It's helping me to fellowship with other believers, which is kind of nice. Yeah.
Kinda. I'm just kidding.
I don't have a lot of people I know that are like personally that are,
Me either.
so
Yeah. I think
it's
we're all in
kinda
that boat.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay.
You get fellowship where you can get it because if you're not out going to a brick and mortar church, then you have to find it in other places, and I think that we do. It gets provided if you're open to it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great. It's great that God has been able to use this this whole internet thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was not started for godly reasons, but
Nope.
he's been able to do really great things with it.
Oh
Really
my
great
gosh.
things.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah, right.
We could do a show about that, about the
Yeah.
internet itself being just a tool, and it depends on how you use it.
Right. It's totally different from just having, I guess, going church to church to church.
Mhm.
You can hear people's different thoughts on stuff where, I don't even think that would have been possible
No.
Right.
20 years ago.
Right.
Nope. Yeah, well, 20 years ago, I think that would have been, it was around, but it certainly didn't have the impact that it did. YouTube didn't exist for sure, and lots of other things that we use now.
Right.
Dang.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we could do a show about that too. So we have some good topic ideas here.
Taking notes.
All in the intro.
That's right.
That's right.
Thanks, Paula. We also have Matthias with us tonight. Matthias also acts as our producer for the shows, and he's the one that found a workaround when YouTube, in a ridiculous move that makes no sense to anyone other than controlling the subject matter and making it more difficult, found a way around it so we could still have broadcasts. So we appreciate him very much. Also, he always has a lot of good things to add to the discussion. Matthias, how are you?
I am well. Can you hear me?
Yep, sure can, buddy.
All right, awesome. My microphone had been unplugged or got unplugged, and I had to rush and get it back into place.
Oh, good job.
Awesome. But yeah, hello everybody. Glad to be here. I look forward to going through another list of questions.
Yeah.
And I praise God that we were trying to enhance the Talking Doctrine channel with the visuals.
Uh-huh.
So I had been working on the OBS thing for a little bit of time before we had this shift. So I've actually helped several people, even people who disagree with us on gospel. Because
Really?
whether in pretense or in truth, I'm joyful Christ is preached.
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll even take it as a olive branch extension.
Yeah.
See, and if nothing else, let it be coals on their head as well. So
Right.
no, I've had a few people reach out, and I'm happy to help them. So no,
Well, that doesn't surprise me about you, but it does a little bit surprise me that people that disagree with you would be willing to reach out to you and ask for your help. But either way, I think that's good. I think that's wonderful. Great. Well,
you got to remember, I'm friends with a lot of them, even though we disagree.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I actually think that if you're really going to help somebody, the only way they're really going to trust you is if they're your friend.
Yeah.
The only way they're going to trust what you say is if they trust you.
Right. Exactly.
So building relationships is important to showing people the truth of Jesus.
Great. Yep. I agree. Last question. Do you have your ice cream yet? There you go.
Nice.
Mint chocolate chip, ladies and gentlemen. I live vicariously through Matthias's every Sunday. Well, I think he said he eats it every night, but Sunday's the night that Sunday and Monday, two nights a week, I get to experience the love of ice cream through Matthias.
Well, when you guys visit, we'll have several.
Nice. That gives me something else to look forward to. Aside from Paula's cooking from scratch and pancakes.
Pancakes.
That's butterscotch and chocolate pancakes, by the way.
Woo-hoo-hoo. Yes.
Oh my. You
The
have to roll us home.
yeah, no doubt. The butterscotch is more attractive to me than the chocolate. But I've never had the combination of the two, for sure. I don't know that I've ever had butterscotch pancakes, actually, now that I think of it. Wow. Okay, yeah, a lot to look forward to. And also shepherd's pie. Right?
That's what we
There
had.
you go.
Right? Why did you say that?
Right, that's what we had tonight.
That was great.
I said that because Matthias has told me some of the meals that you cook. And one night he was talking about that he had shepherd's pie. And I said, when I come to visit, it's one of my favorite things to have. If it's done correctly, shepherd's pie is very, very tasty.
What does it mean by correctly?
Well, it depends on who you're asking. But for me, the standard Irish shepherd's pie would have some kind of meat, mashed potatoes, peas. That's the only the items I can think of at the moment. But
No corn?
Carrots. I put carrots in mine.
carrots, yeah,
Green beans.
green beans, yeah,
Green beans and carrots. Yeah.
yeah. It's delicious. It's good stuff. So yeah, a lot more to look forward to then. Thanks for being here, Matthias. And now we say hello to the chat. Jen, would you like to do the honors?
Did we miss anybody?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Matthias was last. Yeah, I said start with Glenn, then you, then Joseph, then Paula.
All right. Cool.
No, but thank you, because look, I
Just
don't want
off
to miss
my game.
anyone. That's horrible. I don't want to miss anyone, and I feel crappy when that ever happens. So yeah, thank you for checking behind me on that one.
Awesome. You got it.
Yeah.
Hello, Lil and Switch and Frank and Darlene and Renee is here with us.
Hello, Renee.
Hello, Renee. Gia loves Jesus. She's with us tonight.
Good.
Scrolling. Darlene. Glenn. Me. Rapture Ready. I don't know if I missed anybody.
Sin City Preacher.
Luke.
Yep.
I am your father.
Come to the dark side.
All right. Hey, guys. Glad
Hey,
y'all are
that's
all here.
from that really famous movie, right?
Yeah, that really is. Yeah.
What movie? I say that to my dad all the time.
One of the good ones. One of the original, the second three,
Yes.
not the first three. The second,
No.
4, 5, and 6, technically.
Right. We
Yeah.
got to be technical.
We do.
Let's be
We
clear.
don't want to make people think that we think that 1, 2, and 3 were fantastic, because they weren't. They were not.
They really weren't. It was
No,
bad.
they
It
were
was really bad.
Were.
Oh,
All right.
And if anybody does a Jar Jar Binks
no.
impression, I will kill you in your sleep.
Oh my God.
Oh, jeez.
Well,
It just got serious.
it did. Wow. Deadly serious. Deadly serious.
Don't do it.
No, I won't do it. No, I never would have thought of it.
I have a car. I will travel.
Oh my
Somebody's itching to do it. They want to test
I
me.
know, dude. It's like there.
God. Oh. Switch
All right.
321 says 1, 2, and 3 are better than the new ones. Ha ha. Yeah, you better ha ha.
Really?
That's what he said. I think he's just messing around.
He's just poking the bear. Poking the bear.
Poking the bear. Well, we went past the 10-minute mark with our introduction, so we get back on track, and I'll go over the description for tonight. But thank you guys for being here. Thank you, everyone in the chat, for being here as well. And we have a great show for you tonight. Topic for tonight is Paradise, What a Life. And it starts with a quote. Feels fine, feels like you're mine, feels right, so fine. I'm yours, you're mine, like paradise. Number 1, perspective. Number 2, manipulation. Number 3, exploitation. Number 4, safety. And tonight, number 5, paradise. Well, Pentalogy, part 5, paradise, is the light at the end of the tunnel. Can't say I'm not interested in your thoughts of the word paradise. Heaven knows it might even be fun. Oh, that's pretty good, Glenn. As usual, Sade nails it. Have you noticed how her lyrics are open to application to this domain and others too? It just depends how one sees their world. And we included the links. The first one is a live version of the song from 2011. And the second one has the lyrics. So if you get a chance, click on those links and give it a shot. Please spare a thought for those who have to make the best of this life. After all, you do love the lost, right? After all, you do love the lost, right? Well, this lost person hopes you have a desire to give and receive something wonderful from this life. So straight to it. What do you consider to be paradise in this life? Ouch, I think I'm getting conditioned. I heard panel and chat say paradise in this life is thoughts of the next life, or there's no paradise in this life, only the next. Come on, give it a shot. Surely there's something special to be had from this gift of human life. Is there anything in your life that you aspire to feel, to achieve, to experience that has not happened yet? Continuing from last week, if by some stretch of the imagination you say paradise is spending time with other believers, I ask, do you, as a believer, treat people differently according to their beliefs? Is there any paradise to come from friendships with works-based faith people? Or is that too implausible to consider? Is this instant rejection in life too, as is heard on shows and seen in chat boxes? Finally, at what point does paradise end for a believer in a relationship with another believer, whether it be acquaintance, friendship, or marriage? Listen to all the testimonies on TSL. It's my wish that everyone has their own slice of paradise, as well as wishing it for everyone else. From a lost person, please embrace love and encouragement for self. You are worthy, no more or less than any one of us. Cherish the day. Today, right now, who knows about tomorrow? Feels right, so fine. All right, there we have it. So we have a continuation with the questions we didn't get to answer last week. And this will end this particular 5-part series, which when it's all said and done, I'll put that in a separate playlist and you guys can listen to them all if you choose to, if you have that sort of time. I would say anyone that listens to all 5 shows, if you haven't listened to them already in their playlist, that's commitment. All right, so we'll get right to it. Scrolling back up to the first question. The first question, what do you consider to be paradise in this life? So Glenn's not asking about the next life. He's asking about this life. What do you consider to be paradise in this life? Anyone want to tackle that one first? Get us started tonight.
I already answered in the chat, but I'll say it. Love.
Okay.
I think the ability to love people is I could definitely call it paradise. It's an amazing experience to love people.
Yeah.
And not just people that are lovable.
Oh, say a little more about that. Not just people that are lovable. That's a good distinction.
Yeah, what can I say about that? I'm not sure if I could explain it to words, but I meet I don't know if antiques bring out grumpy people,
Oh, okay.
grumpiness in people, but I meet a lot of grumpy people in my store.
Yeah.
And I think I used to have this is going to sound kind of bad, but there were times, that whole killing them with kindness thing where I think I was trying to poke the bear by being kind. Like, what are they going to do with this,
Oh, okay.
But now it comes from such a genuine place, as far as I know, what genuine is. But just really and truly, it goes far beyond thinking, okay, what is this person going through? That maybe is causing them to be in a bad mood or
irritable.
To be rude or irritable or whatever. It just goes beyond that. And the only thing I can attach it to is God.
Yeah.
It just comes from a different place.
Yeah.
And it's joyful.
Yes.
I have grumpy people that I've just kind of loved on in the moment that leave. And even if they're still grumpy, I just get this sense all the time. I just love people. It's just like this overwhelming feeling. And just to be able to, it's not relationship, but just experience people in all kinds of walks of lives and moods, and be able to have the gift of interacting with them. I don't know.
Yeah. To me, when you said love people that are it's not based on them being lovable in and of themselves. Paraphrasing your comment, you were with someone for a long time, and you did everything you could to show love to them and be with them for a very, very long time. So you had a lot of practice.
Yeah.
Doing that for sure. Do you want to tell the story real quick about the no-name lady?
Oh. I had this lady, I'll try to make it quick.
Okay.
This lady came into the store yesterday, and she seemed kind of odd.
Mm-hmm.
And she came up to the counter with 3 antique postcards. And I have, I handwrite the receipts in these receipt books. And so she brought them up to the counter, and I usually ask people what their name is, because I write it, for accounting purposes. I write down their name. Usually it's just the first name, unless they take a credit card. But a lot of times it's because if they're going to be a regular, I want to know their name, and saying it back to them, like saying, oh, my name's Kathleen, and I say, oh, nice to meet you, Kathleen. I'm Jennifer. It just helps me remember with their face.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked her what her name was. And she was like, I'm not going to give you my first name. And I was thinking in my head, what? And I thought maybe she got confused, and I was maybe needing her last name, and she didn't want to give me her last name. So I said, oh, no, just your first name. That's fine. And she said, I'm buying 3 postcards. I don't think I have to give you my name.
Wow.
And she said it kind of in an irritating way. Yeah. And I was like, okay. And I just sat there for a second. And I was like, but it wasn't snobby. It was something else. But I said, I'm going to call you Kat. And I wrote Kat on the receipt. And so anyway, I thought, again, that the whole thing in my mind, I was thinking, okay, is she maybe undercover or hiding from somebody, and she just doesn't want to give her name? Maybe she's overly paranoid. Who knows? Yeah. Who knows? But I was like, okay, that was interesting.
Yeah. Loving the unlovable. That's a good thing to think about for sure.
Yeah.
I think one of the first things I noticed about you was that aspect. You seemed like you come by it naturally, Jen. That you care about other people instantly. Rather than having to get to know someone, you just seem to give them the benefit of the doubt when meeting them, and I think it's a gift. I think it's not everyone's like that.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so what do you consider to be paradise in this life? Anyone want to take it next?
Yeah, I'll hit it.
Okay.
You know, I have to give it all to God in the fact that when all I can like think about is when I was in combat, I was thinking of self-preservation.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the self-preservation, you act and behave a certain way to make it seem you may be empathetic and whatnot, but
Right.
I would say that identity of love has transformed into the being able to love my family.
Mhm.
And okay, it's a lot deeper than that, but I'm kind of like fashioning it off of like quick glimpses in my head.
Sure.
But I never understood like what love is, Crips.
Okay.
I never even like put it together
Right.
until I myself have been able to experience and identify the capacity of love that God has for myself, just in the patience alone.
Yeah. Oh
Like,
my gosh, yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
now that I am able to conceive and bear witness to that love, I am able to freely choose to give that love out now because it's not my own. I can being able to give that out in all fashion and in all moments of life, no matter what's going on. That is paradise.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to live in all moments in that mindset,
Yeah.
is absolutely incredible.
Wow.
Because
Yeah.
it is far beyond what you just see and feel.
Wow.
It's about experiencing, even in the benign, the the less heightened moments in your life.
Yeah.
Right? If you can just have that elevated identity,
Yeah.
I think you'll be able to experience that paradise at all moments. Right? I don't
Wow.
know.
Yeah. No, that's good. So you're saying once you understand what love is, because Jen said it was love, and I thought that was a great point, and you're kind of playing off that a little bit. You're saying that
Yes.
if a person understands what love is, then they're living in this constant state of giving and receiving love, and that can be paradise. That's what I get from what you said. Is that close?
Yes.
Okay. I'll play off that and say that for me, paradise is found in the little moments in life. To me, it's not a destination in this world. It's not like I'm going to be in a constant paradise. I mean, we have to work and we have all these things and circumstances,
right,
and all that. So it may not be that each moment of every day is necessarily paradise, but based on what Jen said and based on what you said, if you're loving, if you're actively loving, if you're living in a place of love, then it seems like even the irritating things can in some ways be paradise for you based on your perception of what love is.
Definitely.
And you're dealing with your relationships from a place of love.
Yeah, dude.
Then it seems like it could be. Seems like it could be a paradise. Very interesting answers so far. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Okay. And this one, from the worldly perspective, and I shouldn't say worldly, I should just say fleshly. Because a paradise for me would be to not have to worry about bills.
Right.
To have the income to be able to do things with my family that I want to do.
Yeah.
Travel and go to the places that I'd like to go.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a connection with preaching the gospel that's fleshly in there that I really enjoy. That would be that would be part of it.
Okay.
But really goes right along with what you guys were saying. I do. It's funny that that's my fleshly paradise, and be awesome if the Lord works to where I can make money not at ministry, but at the same time as doing ministry.
Yeah.
Funny that God's kind of worked that into my life there, and
Yeah.
Dude.
but where paradise is, when I am abiding in the vine.
Yes.
When I don't have to try to not sin and
Yep.
it doesn't phase me.
Mhm.
Yeah, dude.
When I'm sharing the love of Christ, but not my love, I'm
Right.
actually feeling Him love them through me.
Yeah.
That actually is a paradise that
Yes.
I strive to deny my flesh and live mostly in already.
Yeah, dude.
So, Lord willing, one day my fleshly paradise and spiritual paradise will coincide extremely one on one there, and I'm living a life where I'm always walking in the spirit and able to support my family, spend time with my family, go places with my family at the same time as preaching the gospel everywhere we go.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. That would be a paradise on earth for me.
Awesome. Awesome. And something I just want to mention real quick. You were talking about this over a year ago, Matthias, and talking about how you would love to have a way that you could do the ministries and still be able to take care of your family. So it's been interesting on my part to see it develop over time, and for you now to have something that you're able to produce for other channels even, and also get work done. And it's just an amazing thing to watch for someone that's outside of the situation and see it develop.
Even inside, it's amazing.
Praise
I'm
God,
sure it
dude.
is, my friend. I'm sure it is. Thanks, Matthias. Paula, you're the last one, other than Glenn.
Okay. The word paradise is throwing me off though, because I either think of like some beautiful island somewhere,
Sure.
or how God describes paradise having no pain and no sorrow. But I'm gonna kind of jump off where Jen was going with it, like a love kind of feeling, I guess, paradise. And I can say that, and also the second sentence he wrote, he said, "Surely there's something special to be had from this gift of human life." And it just made me think of the most greatest joy I ever felt. And that was holding my newborn baby for the first time twice. I'm blessed to have had that twice.
Amen.
And that is the closest thing I could think of what paradise would feel like, just abundant love. But in an everyday practical sense, honestly, I mean, this is my paradise. Everything that I have in this house is special to me. I love being a stay-at-home mom. I never thought I would.
Yeah.
And it's just, I just love where God has placed me. And
Yeah.
I think that's, I never thought I could be in a place where I was, what's the word? Content, like just content, because before I knew God, before I was saved, I was never content, ever.
Right.
It's like an unending appetite.
Yeah.
You're just never satiated. You're never satisfied.
Dang.
And getting to a place where I'm just utterly satisfied and I could die tomorrow and I'd be perfectly fine with that if that's where he has me, because
right.
And that's what I would think of as paradise in the love sense.
Great. Thank you, Paula.
You're welcome.
Glenn, do you have a comment you want to make about this one? What do you consider to be paradise in this life, my friend?
Well, I thought about this one and I thought, well, the fact that I can work and I'm not in a hospital on a ventilator, I reckon that's paradise.
Sure.
I suppose it's just totally where your frame of reference is. Like Paula just said, she could die tomorrow and not. I think and then not be too concerned. Well, I'm in the same boat. I've done everything that I want to do. I've experienced everything that I want to experience. And if someone said you're going out, I'd say, well, I've had a fair run. I've had my bit of paradise, and probably a lot more than many people that I know around me. So yeah, I think I've got it right now. The fact that I'm here on TSL in many respects is paradise.
Oh,
Right
wonderful.
on, man.
If you don't aspire to anything else beyond what you have, that means you're in paradise already. So just how you look at it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks, Glenn.
Yeah, no, thought you.
Great
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, we put that one to bed. Everyone answered that one. And then I'll read the paragraph leading up to the next question. Glenn says, ouch, I think I'm getting conditioned. I heard panel and chat say paradise in this life is thoughts of the next life, or there is no paradise in this life, only the next. Come on, give it a shot. Surely there's something special to be had from this gift of human life. And then the question is there anything in your life that you aspire to feel, to achieve, to experience that has not happened yet? And before we get to the actual answer, I did want to make a comment about this. And I know Matthias was talking about this last week on the show. I think it's referring to him in saying that, that it's the next life. And I have to admit that I thought like that too for a long time, thinking that a lot of the promises in the Bible weren't even for us here now, today. Even the peace that passes all understanding, I had not experienced that until a few years ago. I had moments of peace. I had moments of peace that I didn't understand. But I looked at it as someone that lives in this perpetual state of constant peace. Now, I understand it now of being that if you're referring to the peace that you have in resting in Christ and knowing that he finished the work already and there's nothing for you to add, nothing for you to do, that does bring me a peace that I don't understand. It does. But in terms of the life that I live in the broken, fallen world that I live in, I didn't learn this, what it means to see the world for what it is and to have a peace about it. Knowing all the things that are going on, knowing all the deception and corruption and abuse and all the things that take place in this horrible world, of course I'm going to look to the next life as a paradise. Of course I am. Because as Matthias pointed out tonight, there's no pain, there's no bills, you don't have to worry about all the things, all the trappings of life that we have to deal with here. And I just want to throw that in. I now am not, of course I'm looking forward to the afterlife. Of course I'm looking forward to the being in a place where all the pain and sorrow from this world is gone and the deception is dealt with and the wickedness is dealt with, all those things. And everyone there is on the same page when it comes to knowing that it's all through Christ that we are even experiencing any of this in the first place. So, of course, I look forward to that. But I think there's a point to be made about, I mentioned last week the term, he's so heavenly minded, he's no earthly good. And Matthias had said that he didn't grow up in church, so he never heard that. This was something I heard quite often, and it was a dig. It honestly was a dig toward people that were all the time just talking about heaven. And it wasn't like they were living their life. It wasn't like they were trying to do things here. And I don't think that's correct. It's a correct way to live. I think we're put here for a reason, and we should be interacting in this world. We shouldn't be like locking ourselves up in our apartment and not reaching out to anyone, not sharing the love that God has put in our hearts with other people. We should be involved somehow. So it's certainly not, and I don't think Matthias meant it to sound like this at all, but I'm just making a separate point in saying that knowing that the next life is going to be fantastic and better, and it's not going to have the same elements that we have to go through here, there's no problem looking forward to it. It's okay to do that, but let's make the best out of this world that we have in. And I hear Glenn saying that in this entire write-up, and I don't disagree with that. I think that we should be enjoying this life as much as possible, especially when we see how broken and fallen it is. And we know that any good thing that comes to us is directly from God. It's not a coincidence. Paul was talking about all the things that she's delighting in her own situation and the place that she lives and being a stay-at-home mom and the beauty of having 2 children and holding them in her arms and it being paradise to her. That's the point. It's knowing that things are rough around you, and some people live a much horrible life than you live, and it's taking in consideration the gifts that you have as a person in the world and making the best of it. And I think there's a lot to be said about that. So that's my little rant about the middle part of this question. So is there anything in your life that you aspire to feel, to achieve, to experience that has not happened yet? Anyone want to answer that one?
Well, I think my first answer actually answered this one.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's just because those are, I would love to get to a point where I don't have bills and I get to focus on ministry all the time. And
yeah.
So, I mean, that I haven't gotten there yet. And
right.
I do aspire to.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to take my family on a vacation or something like that. So, I would say that everything from my first answer actually answers this one.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, Matthias. Appreciate that. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think. Let me see. Let me look at that.
Is there anything in your life that you aspire to feel, to achieve, experience?
To feel? I see. That's the thing. Like feeling it. That's very. The flesh doesn't lead into paradise for me personally. I've done pretty much whatever pleased me, and it produced no fruit.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, when I focused on the things that aren't focused on feeling, like, because your feelings can come and go.
Yes, they can.
Right? Because what do I feel? Like, am I just focusing on feeling happy? Well, if I focus on that, well, what if happiness only comes from when others are feeling terrible? That's, I mean, that's
not
just terrible. And like I said, it produces no fruit. But in this life, that no matter the circumstances or situation that I'm in, or happen to be confronted with, or happen to be influenced by in some way, knowing now where my mind, where my heart is, and if it being centered in Christ, that love in me is greater than anything in this world.
Yeah. Wow.
That I know I can multiply. I know I can give and bless to somebody else.
Yeah.
I know that I can proclaim the promises of God onto someone else, another city, another nation, because there's no limit to God's love, the capacity of his love for the individual, for the group, and for a nation. You know, I don't know. I guess just the last couple of days, it's just resting in who he is for me has allowed my mind to really saturate in what he's doing. You know, it's magical. It's not magical. It is supernatural and so mysterious that it really tears into your heart and opens it up and says, this is who I am. and this is who I want to be for you because I promised it. Because you've stepped into the inheritance of God by believing in me. And this is my inheritance.
Yeah.
And if you're only getting a glimpse of it now, just wait, And, I don't like to put limitations on God anymore.
Right.
I'm curious to know if what more can be added on right now. Boom, holy smokes, my name, dude, and he shall add on. That's what my name means in Hebrew.
Nice.
So it's right, just it is more than just what's right here in front of you.
Yeah.
And just really incredible stuff going on. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I feel like I did. I think it's beyond feeling.
Right.
And I aspire to be clued into what God has for me next.
Yeah.
I mean, I have my own ambitions, and see, the thing is, God knows what those are, and I pray to him about those things.
Yes.
And you know what? I have no doubt in my mind his timing will be better than anything that I got going on. So if I just keep the faith, man, if I just keep on with what I'm doing, but you nailed it. Although you didn't call me out specifically, but you nailed it, Crips. Like, my PTSD will get me just like trapped in my apartment. And that's just because old habits, man.
Right.
And, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, but that doesn't mean that I should stay put. Doesn't mean that I can't get out and walk around and say hello to people and share that good. No, that's just my own conviction.
No, I understand. But I just want to add to that, though, Joseph, you're not just, you may be holed up in your apartment more, meaning you don't go out as much, but you aren't isolating. That's what I mean. I mean, someone just sits in their apartment and isolates themselves. By you being on this panel, you're not isolating. You're reaching out to other people. You're having conversations. You're having dialogues with other people. So I think what you're talking about is a separate thing. And I certainly understand in your situation why you would be reluctant. But I believe you're being healed, though, too, of PTSD. You're in the process of having that worked out. But I think it takes a lot of bravery and courage for you to reach out even in that, and to have the conversations that you're having, and to be available in the chats and the conversations and dialogues that you are having. I think it's great.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, right. Joseph. And I want to say something about feeling. This could be another topic too. And I think that with feelings, people go sometimes to one end or the other. And one end is everything's feelings, and they react to everything they feel. And that's where you get broken relationships and broken friendships. It's like, well, I don't feel like I love you anymore. I'm not in love with you, and blah, blah, blah. And they go with the feelings. And the other end of that is people, and I've talked to these people that discount feelings altogether. Like, well, God doesn't want us to have any feelings. He wants us to just go by the word. I said, well, how do you expect us to have a relationship with him that have no feelings in it?
Yeah.
I mean, how are we supposed to look at what he did and not have our feelings moved by his sacrifice for us on the cross?
It's a balance.
Yeah, there is a balance. That's my point. Thank you, Jen. To feel feelings, to allow yourself to feel feelings and be aware of them, and not have that decide your reaction to everything.
It can rule you.
Yeah, it can rule you. Or the other end too, to just discount your feelings completely, and then you end up having an ulcer. You end up having stress and a heart attack. You're not paying attention to your feelings, and that's just as dangerous as someone that just reacts to everything.
Yeah.
So I believe there should be a balance in all things, and we should strive for that balance. And I believe the relationship with God helps us to find the balance.
Oh, so nailed it.
Bottom line. I'll answer the question, though. Is there anything in your life you aspire to feel, to achieve, to experience that has not happened yet? Of course. Of course. I was married once, and I made a poor choice, and I set marriage up as an idol, and therefore I had consequences that I had to go through. And I have an opportunity, thank God, I have an opportunity to try it again with the right person.
Yes, dude.
So there's a lot in that. We're not married yet. So there's things coming. I mean, we live 5 hours away or 5.5 hours away from each other. So there are things that I'm looking forward to feeling and achieving and experiencing in that relationship that I haven't had yet. So there are things that I look forward to. Absolutely. There are things that I look forward to being married. I look forward to the, Paula mentioned what a joy it was to hold her children in her arms. I want that too. I've wanted that for a long time. So yeah, I haven't arrived at any kind of place where, even the paradise that I describe for myself and in living in a place of love means that I don't have things that I want in this world. Of course I do. Now, God alone knows how much time I have on this earth, but since I don't know, I'm going to live each day to the best of my ability and make as many friends as want to be my friend and love as many people as come into my circle that allow me to do that. And I will feel, achieve, and experience everything that comes into my path, and I will. And yes, there are plenty of things that I want to achieve, marriage and family being one of them, and being pretty high on my list, actually. So I haven't arrived anywhere yet when it comes to those things. So yeah, I do have plenty of stuff to aspire to, for sure. Anyone else want to answer that one?
Well, I was going to second yours. I wasn't thinking about the marriage as much. No, it sounds really bad.
That's it.
Because I am looking forward to that very much. But yeah, being a mother, if God has that for me, that's something I've always looked forward to since I was a little kid.
Oh, that's so lovely.
Which brings up another question, and this could be a whole other show, but I've always wondered if having children, I hear these stories that people talk about. They say that they thought they knew what loving someone was, but when they had a child, it just opens up this whole other reservoir of love. And sometimes I've wondered if having a child, is that reservoir just for the child, or does it open up a whole other part of your heart that can love people in a different way?
Yes.
And I don't know, it's just one of those things I tilt my head and wonder about.
Answer
for me, Joseph.
You will. I promise. I am, seriously, I am so excited for you guys. I really am in my heart. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but I will say this, because this is a potential, if that's not what God has for us, having a child. And this is not boasting or bragging or anything, but I'm so in a place, God is so amazing that really and truly, if I died tomorrow, I would be completely content. I would be incredibly grateful for the things that I've experienced up until this point. Incredibly, incredibly grateful. Jeez. So yeah, there is that. And that's, it really is having a mindset of wanting to experience each day, no matter what comes about, circumstantial and external and internal, just all those things. It's an honor to be alive and experience all the things that God has created us to experience. So I know I mentioned this on the show before, but I used to be terrified of death. And had nocturnal panic attacks really, really bad.
Wow,
no
kidding.
It was bad, like 4 or 5 times a night. I'd have to stay up till 3 a.m. to exhaust myself to go to sleep. And I think it was because of the lack of those things. There were things that I so wanted to feel and experience that I hadn't yet. And there was just such a drought of it for so long. And I was like, if I die tomorrow, I'm going to be so upset. I just am going to be heartbroken. That's what I felt, you know what I mean, in the moment. And God has just done so much in the past 8-9 months. He's just moved so amazingly in so many ways.
Yeah.
I just am like, thank you, God. And it hasn't been like super huge miracles or anything. It even is in the small things that I see him move, and the ways he's healed me and touched my life and just shown who he is, his character, his love. I'm just amazed every day. I'm just in awe. And I who knows if that's actually, I don't know if that can withstand time of the rest of my life. I don't know if I can be in awe every single day, but if I can, I want to be, because it's such an amazing feeling. But yeah, I really don't have the nocturnal panic attacks anymore, which is wonderful. Because it was bad. It was like for a long time.
Yeah. Thank you, Jen.
Damn.
We'll talk later about you not looking forward to the.
That's not what I said.
That's awesome.
I definitely do. You know I do. We talked about it.
Oh, you're a delight.
I'm in trouble.
Awesome.
I'm just kidding.
It's classic.
Glenn said, "I have a red face."
I'm red facing it for you.
Oh.
Dang. No, man, that's so genuine
Mhm.
and just honest. That's incredible.
Yeah. Anyone else for this one? Paula?
Yeah, sure. Let me read the question
Sure.
again. Is there anything in your life that you aspire to feel, to achieve, to experience that has not happened yet? I would say I'm sure, and I'll let you know when I get there.
Yeah, okay.
Because I did go out and achieve things, and anything I wanted to feel, I brought it into my life, or I chased after it. I went after every dream I ever had, and I got there, and I didn't want it anymore.
Yeah.
It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It wasn't making me happy. So eventually I gave up my life to God, and at some point 3 years later, I actually believed in him. And since he's had the reins of my life, he's taken me to places I never thought I would ever want to be.
Yeah.
That would never be someplace where I would be happy at. It's strangely like he knows me better than I know myself.
Strangely, yeah.
Strangely, yeah. Because anything I used to, you know how like when an event is coming up or you have plans to do something, you know how when I did this a lot when I was a kid, I would just think about it and I would imagine who was going to be there and what I was going to wear and what we would talk about and what we would do. And everything I thought about was for nothing because it never happened that way.
Yeah.
And when I was noticing that when I did this, I was setting myself up for failure because life isn't perfect.
No.
Like if you had a dream to go to Paris or something and you got tickets for the weekend to go there, you have all these, wonderful plans of doing these things in Paris that, you never got to do before. But well, what if it's a storming that weekend? Or what if, there's anarchy in the city or something, So I just kind of learned not to do that so much. But ever since God has kind of had the reins of my life.
Expectations.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
He brings me to places where I'm like, no, that's not what I want. I don't want to do that. And then I get into it and I'm like, wow, this is oddly satisfying. I think I kind of like this.
Wow.
It's like one time, Matthias is notorious for inviting people to dinner last minute. Stranger, it doesn't matter. At one time, I was already having a bunch of people over, and then he said, "Oh yeah, so and so is coming by, and someone else is coming with them." And I was like, and I had a moment of frustration.
Of course.
And later on, he says, after everybody came and went, he says to me, you complain about it, but you really like feeding people, taking care of them. I was like, yeah, I do. I didn't know that.
Can it be both, Paula? Can it be both?
It often is. It often is. But, you know, sometimes the most enjoyable things, it's a little work to get there.
Sure, of course.
But yeah, that's what I have.
Awesome, Paula. Thank you for sharing.
Welcome.
Yeah, so the comment I made, Matthias, it sounds like you have a little work to do when it comes to making sure to give Paul a heads up when it comes to you inviting people last minute. No, it sounds like she enjoys doing that, and that's wonderful. It's wonderful to have someone that likes feeding people, especially me.
There you go.
Thanks, Joseph. Appreciate it. Glenn, do you have a comment you want to make about this one before we move on? Is there anything in your life that you aspire to feel, to achieve, to experience that has not happened yet?
Yep. More of the same.
Yeah.
Easy answer.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Okay.
Just give me more.
More?
As long as I can do it and feel healthy and
yeah.
Well, I can't ask for more than that. I've already had a good run, but I'll take more.
One of the things I admire about you, Glenn, is that with traveling, because I probably, and you may not agree with this, but I probably enjoy traveling as much as you do. I just haven't been able to do it. But you make it a point to travel. You know, you like, even you've told me stories before about you didn't know where the money was coming from, but you planned the trip, and then the universe, and I'm doing air quotes, nobody can see, the universe provides. And I think there's a bravery and a courage to that as well, to knowing that you like traveling and just setting the plans to do so. And it's maddening to me sometimes. You're like, yeah, come to Australia and visit. I'm like, yeah, how's that ever going to happen? Looking at my own situation, I'm taking care of my grandma, and I'm trapped in this place, at least for now, where I'm in charge of someone else and taking care of them without a lot of help. So when I think about being able to travel, at least in this present condition, it's difficult for me to see that. So I admire that about you, that you're able to just decide to do what you want, follow your path when it comes to visiting places that you love, like Japan and other places. So I aspire, I didn't say this as part of my answer, but I aspire to do more traveling. And I've shared that with you before. But I want to, I've shared on the show before that before my grandma died, one of the things that I've always wanted to do was to get a trailer and hook it to my van and travel around. And now, because of the situation with my grandma, I've met more people now to visit. So I have more of a reason now to do it than I did before. And that wouldn't have happened had I not been in this place. I wouldn't have met Jen if I hadn't agreed to go against type and take care of my grandma. Which I don't think anyone thought that I would agree to do this. And if I hadn't, I would have passed up experiences that God had for me. I would have not experienced paradise in all the ways that I have by being unwilling to say yes when I feel like God was telling me to do something. And it's not that I'm a great person. It really isn't. I was going against my better judgment in agreeing to do it. And I even said when my mom died and we were all sitting around, the whole family was sitting around talking about what are we going to do. And I was fully aware of that my mom had put in the will that if I was able, willing and able, that her wishes were that I take care of grandma. And I said, I don't want to do it. I just said straight up, I don't want to do it. And, but having said that, I'm willing. I'm willing to do it. And willingness, I didn't even understand the impact of the word willingness at that time, but now I do much more. That being willing to say yes when your family needs you to do something, there are rewards in that. And I didn't do it for the reward. I did it because I felt like it was what I was supposed to do. And because I did that, there were rewards in it. And it changed the way I think about life. It changed, each of the friends that I have on this panel, I wouldn't have met. You would not know me. I would not know you. I wouldn't be doing this show. I would be still working, constantly working and not making new relationships. So it's been it's been a wonderful thing that came out of something very difficult. So anyway, that answers that question. The next paragraph, continuing from last week, if by some stretch of the imagination you say paradise is spending time with other believers, I ask, do you as a believer treat people differently according to their beliefs? That's a good question. Do you as a believer treat people differently according to their beliefs? Who wants to take that one?
I will.
Okay, Paula?
I do in a way, but I don't think it's in the way that he thinks. I treat people differently according to their beliefs based on, I don't want to disrespect somebody if they don't believe in God, or if they are Christian and they're working for their salvation or whatever. Because I was blind for 36 years before I believed God was real. And it doesn't do any good other than cause hate when you get angry at somebody for what they believe. You can't help what you believe. You believe things based on the evidence that you've seen.
Say that again, please, Paula, for the cheap seats.
You believe things based on the evidence that you've seen in your life.
Yeah.
It's, so like, for instance, Matthias invited a fella over the other day with his family, and they are in the Hebrew roots. Mm-hmm. And I decided not to make ham sandwiches because I thought maybe that would be offensive. So in that sense, yes, I did treat them differently. Mm-hmm. I just, I don't want to eat a big steak while I'm hanging out with my vegan friend.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what Paul addresses this. Paul addresses
right.
In Romans, I believe. Don't if your brother has a problem with eating meat or whatever the case may be, don't do it in front of them. I mean, don't cause them to sin, or don't parade your freedom in front of them and make them feel irritated.
Right. He tells us to become all things to all men.
Right. Exactly.
And I think there was a question last week about, would you hang out with an unbeliever or something like that? I don't think we got to it, though. I think I read ahead.
You're right. We didn't get to it.
Yeah. And I get why he's saying that, because I have met, quote, Christians who don't associate with the secular world at all.
Yeah,
and I think that if you are a person that does that, you need to check your religion. Mm-hmm. Because Jesus ate with the sinners and the publicans. Yep. It was the Pharisees who took issue with that.
Yes.
So
yes.
That's what I would tell people who because there's this idea, I've learned this since I've become a Christian. There's this idea that the church kind of has, I guess they don't really talk about it, but I've picked up a lot on it. Keeping yourself separate from sin.
Yeah, it's like you're afraid that these people are going to rub off on you.
That's weird. What they consider keeping yourself separate from sin, and it's like, what?
No.
That I think you're reading it wrong.
you know they're reading it wrong, Paul. I'll correct you on that one. You know they're reading it wrong.
So like, how are you supposed to share the gospel if you're not hanging out with?
Yeah.
Right. We'll
just share it to ourselves over and over again.
Exactly. Or they think, that's someone else's job, or I wasn't called to do that, or whatever.
No, that's exactly what they think. It's somebody else's job.
Mm-hmm. Right. And, God doesn't, I love that part. And I think it's 1 Corinthians, I could totally be wrong, but he talks about, there's not many mighty that are called. There's not many, what's that verse? I know.
Yeah, you're on it. I believe it is 1 Corinthians.
1 Corinthians, right. That he chooses the base things, the lower things, to exalt himself through. And I always think Moses, because Moses, he had a speech impediment. Apparently, he wasn't comfortable. He didn't want to talk. And that's the man God chose to lead a nation.
Yeah. Look at Joseph, called to be involved with the Egyptians.
Right.
I mean, come on.
It's just a shame. I mean, but again, these people, they might not even be saved. There's a lot of
That's true.
There's too many false Christians to not mention that, because I don't want us to talk about believers and Christians in the same way.
No.
Because there is a big difference.
Yeah. False converts.
There's way more of them than there are of us.
That's true. And the world sees the false converts.
Oh, yeah.
And they loop us all in the same category.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Well, I've done the same thing, and you've heard me talk
Same
about
here.
it on the show. I've done the same thing with unbelievers, atheists in particular. And when I met Glenn, who professes to be an atheist, and I saw him not acting the same way with all the other atheists that I'd met up until that point, I realized I was doing the same thing that I'm angry about, people looping me in the same category as the ones that stand out with the signs that say you're going to burn in hell, turn or burn fags. I'm not doing that. I wouldn't be caught dead doing that. But that's what people think of Christians. The squeakiest wheel gets the grease, so to speak. And so those are the ones that make it on the news, the ones that are preaching hate. They're preaching a God that hates people and wants them to end up in hell. And that's just not accurate. So thank you, Paul. I do agree with what you're saying. But the point to the question is, do you, as a believer, treat people differently according to their beliefs? And I hear you saying that, yeah, not that you're avoiding them or anything, but I thought your example about if you're having a Hebrew roots person or a Jewish person come over to your house, you're not going to serve them pork. I think that's a good point. So you would treat them differently according to the circumstances that you found yourself in. Anyone else?
No, sure. I certainly do treat people differently on whether they believe or not, but I treat everybody with the same respect and through the same lens.
Good question. Good answer.
So it's not that I'm trying to show favoritism,
Right.
but I'm not going to preach the gospel to somebody who's saved.
Right.
Someone you know or you believe is saved.
Correct. Somebody who has convinced me enough to where I consider them a brother or sister in Christ. I'm not going to preach them the gospel. Now, somebody who claims to be a brother or sister and I haven't been persuaded, I'll still include the gospel in my conversation with them.
Right. Exactly.
And if somebody just outright rejects it, I'll try to be their friend. Yeah. Rather than trying to push anything on them. That's not going to work.
No.
That's pointless. I mean, that's why we invited Hebrew rooters to come over to our house.
Yeah.
It's, wasn't to treat them differently than we would treat others. Just because they believe differently, we'll invite them to our house and treat them just the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody treats people differently according to where they perceive they're coming from. I think that just comes with presupposition.
Yeah.
Even before I was saved. But that's one of the things that God tells us not to do.
Right.
We are not to be a respecter of persons, for he is not and was not.
Right.
He died for everybody.
Yeah.
So, the answer, yeah, I do, but people don't necessarily know it, because even though I treat people differently, all of them still feel love. All of them still feel respect. All of them still feel like they're worth something. All of them still feel like they're important to me. All of them still know that I care about them.
Yeah.
So just treating them might be somewhat the same, but how I treat our time together is different.
Yeah, of course. And I think there's some points that people have made in some of your various conversations where they've even said, I'm thinking of Skylar Fiction in particular, who you've had a couple conversations with, and he feels your respect for him, even though you are diametrically opposed when it comes to your belief system. So it bears out. What you're saying bears out in evidence, as Paula was saying, the evidence that's being presented. So thank you, Matthias, for your answer. I'll answer. I agree with kind of what's already being said. Is definitely treat people differently based on according to their beliefs. I have a friend that I mentioned before, Marcus. I talked to him today. He called to tell me that he is in love. He met someone.
What?
Yeah. So that was a great conversation. I'm happy for him. I'm glad he found someone. And I probably shouldn't have mentioned it. He just said I'm the only. He hasn't told anyone else, but he doesn't listen to the show. I don't think so. I think it'll be all right. But he's come along though. I've treated him differently according to his beliefs, but not according to mine. We get in these conversations. Thank you. We get in these conversations about spirituality and beliefs, and I remain consistent. Now, I've changed my stance on a few things over the years, so he gets a chance to see me grow and change in the way that I look at outside situations. But the belief that I had from the beginning is the same belief. So I'm respectful of him. I believe certain things that I've talked to him about, and they're very irritating to him, and we can't talk about it. Back in the day, it used to be politics. We'd get in these conversations about politics, and he's very on the other end of the political spectrum, and now I have no end to be on because it's all the two sides of the same coin, and I realize that now. But back in the day, I fought for the conservative side, and he fought for the liberal side. And we had these knockdown, drag-out arguments, but we're still able to remain friends. So, yeah, I treat people differently based on their beliefs, but my beliefs are always going to be what they are. I'm going to be respectful of someone with different beliefs. I'm going to give them the same courtesy that I would give to someone that's a believer. But, yeah, definitely treat them differently according to what they believe, not according to the way I believe. That's my answer for that. Anyone else? Do you as a believer treat people differently according to their beliefs?
Yeah, I would second, well, not second, but Paula had mentioned, I remember being a baby Christian and going to a church that practiced kind of like holding up within itself and almost creating kind of this atmosphere within each person. And it wasn't taught. It just was taught through other people's actions. But it was just this hanging with like-minded people.
Yeah.
And I think it was harmful because I think when you meet people of different walks and different beliefs and it challenges you. I mean, perfect example, Glenn, we've had so many conversations with Glenn over the last year, even more than a year, where he's asked us questions, and in the explaining why we believe things and what we believe, it strengthens your faith. And there wasn't any of that when I was attending these churches. I was just like, it's just hanging out with yes men almost.
Oh my gosh.
So it just was strange. So I definitely, at that point in my life, I looked at people and judged. I remember actually having thoughts and thinking, I need to get my parents are saved. They're Christian. They go to a Baptist church. I remember thinking, I need to get them to come to my church because my church is the right church.
Right. Wow.
And I never said this to them, but I literally thought sometimes I was like, I need to sit down and have a conversation with them.
Right.
About, they're at the wrong church.
Yeah.
I think of that, and I'm like, that's ridiculous. Oh my gosh.
Thanks for being transparent about that, though, because I think I've had similar thoughts in the past about other things where I think that I have the corner on some sort of truth, and I want everyone else to be there with me on it. And
Sure.
you can't force people to believe it. Again, what Paula said, you know, people are going to believe something or they're not. I'm paraphrasing, but you're going to believe something or not, and you believe it by evidence. And so if they don't see the evidence, if they're not even willing to look at the evidence, then the chances of them finding it are slim to none, outside of some supernatural miracle that they would even look at the information to begin with. And I could go on and on about that. We won't do that in the time that we have left, but that's a whole nother topic of people being unwilling to look at the information at all. They just discount things right out of hand. The Bible talks about that. To dismiss a matter before hearing it is foolishness. And that's a paraphrase. Yeah. It's not a direct quote. Thank you, Jen. That was a great answer.
And I'll add that now, I love people like what I don't know if I'm quoting Matthias correctly, but like I look at people through the same lens. I love people through the same lens, but I do treat some people differently because, like Paula had said, you know, I'm not going to have someone come in my store that I know is an unbeliever or some other different walk of life and just shove my beliefs down their throat in an obnoxious way.
Right.
I just don't think that is effective.
Yep.
I've had people do that to me way back in the day, and it's just not effective.
Me too.
I didn't come to the Lord that way. So
I'll be honest, I love it when someone witnesses to me. The last time someone did it was several years ago, but I was in a bar and just having a couple of beers watching a football game, and some guy came up to me trying to witness to me, and I let him go through his whole thing. I wasn't irritated by it. I wanted to hear the whole spiel. I think it's interesting when people do that.
That's a good perspective.
Yeah. Okay, Joseph, I don't think you answered. Are you the last person to answer this one? Did you answer it? I don't think you did.
Can you hear me okay or no?
You're a little far away. But
yeah, I know.
He's in Louisiana. But a boop.
Yeah. All right. Hang on. I'm sorry. I was getting all nice and tidy in my bed, but
it's okay. Well, we can talk to Glenn first if you need a minute.
Yeah, please.
Glenn, could you answer this one for us? I realize you're not a believer, so you can change the words to say, do you, as a non-believer, treat people differently according to their beliefs?
I hope so. As a non-believer, it's very important to me that before I go somewhere that I try to understand what the belief system of the country is, and so that I'm exactly as Messiah said. I don't have to speak to them about any beliefs, but I will be respectful of theirs. Like you go to a Muslim country, you don't touch the ladies or even. No. You know, I mean, there's certain things which go beyond. And to be honest with you, the only hassles I've ever had has been with Christians in Africa, the ones that heap crap on you. They want to know what you believe, and you say, well, I don't believe in God. And then they give you the sermon on from the high mountain. But it's like the wrath of God is going to be down on you, etc., etc. And you just stand there with your mouth open and thinking, I just should have said I was a Christian. Yeah. It would have been way easier.
Gosh, I love your honesty.
And then they go off and they go on and on and on, and you just. I'm looking at Sandra and she's rolling her eyes, and I'm thinking, oh. Geez, when can I get out of here?
Yeah.
It's an alcohol-free country. Oh, no. No, it is, but Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, I've never had any hassle with any of them. It's only these Christians that have given it to me in the jugular. So,
sure.
Of course.
That's because you're such a heathen.
That's exactly correct. You nailed it. I know it's in jest, but you absolutely nailed it.
You know I love you. I am picking on you, buddy.
Don't tell, Cribs. Oh, you did.
Yeah, it's alive. It's live. True story live.
Yeah, we do our best.
Thanks.
We do our best. Okay.
Appreciate your answer. Joseph, you ready?
Yeah.
I'm the bug in your rug.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
So, yeah, the biggest thing for me is just to appear as a light of love, man. Because how was Jesus known? Through his righteousness. And it's not to say, yay, I'm acting righteously. It's to bear witness of the fruit that I have in him. And so, and I love being around non-believers. I absolutely dig it. And I welcome it. Because where else are we going to shine that light?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but no, I don't know. Honestly, I'm more apprehensive around a bunch of Christians.
Yeah, isn't that something?
You know, straight up. Because, or another religion, just because of my personal experiences. But man, I'm more fascinated at listening and being led in the spirit to respond when need be. I'm not in the game of shoving God down anybody.
Right.
Because when that was done to me, I recoiled and recanted. And it wasn't, like all my life, that's how I was fed. Until I was actually fed, did I come.
Right.
Eat this or die.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, because there's this over here, and they're not telling me that.
Wow.
So, man, I think the mystery, the capacity of God is just so amazing.
Yeah.
And we bear witness to who Christ is by being willing to carry our testimony anywhere and at all times, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me if people drink, smoke, whatever. I mean, I'm not going to go to a heroin house.
Okay.
If that's where I'm called, I'm being honest.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm not going to look for friends in that area.
Right.
Yeah. Shoot.
Yeah.
But I'm fascinated with how God, where he wants me and how I'm called to serve. Because that's just my attitude. I'm like, now that I'm saved, I'm like, okay, God, here's my obedience.
Yeah.
And whatever you want me to do, you got it. I mean, that's just the warrior spirit within me.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, yeah.
Thanks, Joseph. I wanted to read something. Rapture Ready said, I call them psychic vampires. They feed off negative energy. Once you stop giving it, you'll find how quickly they move on to the next victim. Then you see it wasn't ever personal at all.
Yes.
I'm not sure exactly what that was in reference to, but if it was in reference to what we're talking about, these people, like Glenn mentioned, that they ask you what your belief is, and they just go on and on and on from the high mountain. That's what we've encountered here. In a lot of cases, these people that are taking the mandate to go into all the world and preach the gospel, and they're switching the words around and say, beat the gospel into people.
Right.
And, force them to say a prayer or make a confession before they leave you alone.
Oh.
Put another notch on the belt, put another mark on the book about having saved a soul. And it's pervasive. It's pervasive in our society. Nobody responds. Well, I shouldn't say nobody. I guess some people do respond to that, but I don't. And I understand why Glenn has an issue with that. approach isn't useful. In fact, you were saying Sandra's rolling her eyes. Of course she's rolling her eyes. On and on and on it goes. And they don't care whether you want to hear it or not.
Bingo.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be said about that particular comment. They are vampires, and there's a lot of them out there. And they're in my opinion, they're not believers. They're false converts, and they think that they're believers. They think that they're saved, and they're not. There's just
Okay. You know what is so beautiful is when Jesus went into the town of Zacchaeus, and he said, "Hey, get down out of that tree and go make me some dinner, yo."
yes.
And Zacchaeus did it. He was like, "Oh, me? Okay."
He was interested. He was seeking.
Yes. And get this, dude. Jesus didn't tell him, "Hey, you better go and give all your money back. You better do this and this and this and this."
Yeah.
He sat and heard the light and saw the light and bore witness to it. And it was that his heart was changed, just by being around, the Word of God.
Mm-hmm.
And that same Word lives within all of us who believe.
Yep.
So I'm so moved by that story because it tells of the mystery of who God is, the words that we use, the timing of everything. And as long as we do not snuff out the candle that's supposed to be on the dang table, right?
Not under a bushel, right?
Yes, dang it. So anyway, I don't know where you're going with that, but I just was so moved to share that.
No, you went there. No problem whatsoever.
Right on.
You're right on it, trust me. All right, so we got through that one. 2 more questions, and we can call it a night, guys. So we're actually doing pretty well as far as the timing goes. We got a little under 30 minutes. We try to keep it close to 2 hours as we can. So the next one is there any paradise to come from friendships with work-based faith people? Or is that too implausible to consider? Is this instant rejection in life too, as is heard on the shows and seen in chat boxes? So here we are at the question about the works-based faith people, the false converts that are relying on their own works to get them to heaven when our filthy righteous rags don't enter into the equation at all. So Glenn's asking, is there any paradise to come from friendships with these folks? Who wants to tackle this awesome one first? Paradise to come from friendships with work-based faith people.
Go ahead, Matthias.
Well, you can go. Well, I was just going to say that, I mean, yeah, that's that's what I was saying from the beginning, even with the OBS. It's funny. I hadn't read ahead. When I read this, I was like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah, you don't generally, do you?
And I never read ahead.
Right.
No, I never read ahead.
Yeah.
So it was funny that, and it's because I'm friends with them and they know that I'm familiar with it. And I offered it to them already. And then they come back and say, hey, I'll take you up on that.
Okay.
So I do get your point. Maybe if I had disagreed with somebody, I'd have a hard time asking them, but I did offer it to them.
Right.
But like I said, we have offered to open our house up. Now we won't have people. Here's a good thing. We won't have people who don't believe the same way we do spend the night with us.
Okay.
That's one way we treat people differently, but we will invite anybody over and cook them and share dinner with them. So I think that there's a bunch of good that can come out of it. If nothing else, a temporal, worldly friendship that you can actually praise God for. God can actually bless you through friends who are unbelievers even.
Yes.
Amen.
And
yes,
so,
dude.
even I would even say God can speak to you through
Yes.
circumstances with unbelievers, your friendship and everything that's going on. So I think that it's a very good thing. Now, mark and avoid, that's really for people who are not secure necessarily on a foundation, may not even be seriously on solid rock. But I mean, if God lays on your spirit, everybody who's got air in their lungs, his long suffering is abiding over them.
Amen.
So if God lays on your spirit to go speak to somebody, then by all means, do it. But when it comes down to it, I would say that rejecting people in the chat, it depends on where it is.
Yeah.
If you're if you're in a church service where it's supposed to be a fellowship where we're trying to grow in the Lord together.
Yep.
No, I'm sorry, that's not the place.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up, Matthias, because that a lot of times these comments are made in the chat, and someone bursts their way in there and start talking about their own stuff during the middle of a Bible study. It's inappropriate.
Right.
So they're reacted to, and rightly so, because it's like walking in the middle of a church service and saying, "Oh, I'm going to kill myself." And that's not the right place to do that. There are ways to do that, and if you're having a crisis, then by all means call a suicide prevention hotline. It's not you're not going to find the right thing by going into a Bible study and bursting out with these things and disrupting the study. I didn't mean to talk over you, Matthias. Do you have more to say?
Well, actually, no, I guess I don't. I'm sorry, I should have muted.
Oh, no, you're fine. I just thought I didn't want to interrupt you. I try not to do that. I hope I don't do it very often. So for you, Matthias, I will ask you one more question. So for you, from what I've seen, it's not an instant rejection because you invite these folks on your show to have a discussion. That's part of what Talking Doctrine does. So you invite these work-based faith people and talk to them. So you're not rejecting them, you're inviting them into a dialogue. So I would say that for you, at least, it's not.
I would say, nowhere near half, but a good portion of them, I stay in contact with them and would consider them friends.
Mm-hmm.
And
there you go.
So I may have told them, I wish you were going to heaven.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But they know that even if I'm wrong from their perspective, which I know I'm not, the Lord has shown me, but from their perspective, even though he may be wrong thinking of me, he's doing it with love, respect, and I can respect that.
Yep. Thanks, Matthias. So I'll answer this one next because this ties into a question Glenn, he wasn't really asking me. All he did was take what I said on Facebook and then put a bunch of question marks to it. It didn't specify what it was he wanted me to fill in. The whole thing, half of it, part of it. Do you understand some of what I'm saying or whatever? So he asked me that and I never responded, but it fits into this question because what I'm going to say, it has nothing to do with me, the way I'm treating them. It has to do with the works-based faith people and the way that they're reacting to being challenged. I have a lot of friends that I don't instantly know. I mean, when I meet someone new for a different reason, they might agree with some other truths that I believe in, and so we go ahead and friend each other on Facebook, and then down the road, and I've said this before, the beliefs always come out. What they believe always comes out, and a lot of times they expose it themselves by putting memes up or whatever. So when they put a meme up that's a works-based faith situation, I'm not getting into an argument with them. I'm expressing an opinion based on the different belief that I have and trying to draw them into a dialogue. And this happened twice last week, where someone made a meme. They're implying that we have to turn away from our sin as a means of repentance, and I challenged that with grace wrapped in truth wrapped in grace. And several other people commented, friends of this person, and then a day later he comments on it. And argued with me and said some things and then unfriended me. So there was no opportunity, there was no dialogue, there was no discussion. He didn't like what I said, and he discontinued the relationship, not me. And then Nathan Roberts, there's another person that he's right on biblical cosmology, but he has the wrong gospel. And he made a similar comment, a works-based comment, and I simply I asked him a couple questions, and we at least had a dialogue, and I saw it wasn't getting anywhere, so I invited him to have a phone conversation, and he unfriended me. So 2 in 1 week of these, as Glenn defined them, works-based faith people, the rejection didn't come from me. I didn't instantly reject anyone. I'm happy to have conversations with these people. I'm not unfriending them. I'm not blocking them. I'm not getting rid of them. They do the blocking. They do the unfriending. They do the running away. They do the isolation. So they're making it impossible for me to be friends, to have a friendship with them by their behavior. They're the ones that are doing that. I've never done that to anyone. I've never blocked someone because they have different beliefs. Never once. I've blocked people for being rude or saying horrible, untrue things about me or for various reasons, but not because they have different beliefs and not because they're works-based faith people. I love them. I want them to get off of their works and get on to what Jesus already did on the cross. That's what I want. And by having a dialogue and keeping them on my friends list, I'm hoping that through listening to TSL or some of the other broadcasts I'm involved with, hopefully they come over and give it a shot. But I see the same problem with these people. They believe they have the right thing, so they're not trying to look at other options. They're not looking into themselves and thinking, well, maybe it's not based on my own works. Maybe it is based on solely what Jesus did. So the problem comes from them, not from me. And this may sound to some people like I'm putting all the blame on someone else, but I just gave 2 examples of where the blame does fall on someone else. So when it comes to friendships, I'm not instantly rejecting anyone. I will invite them into a dialogue. If they choose to reject me because they don't want to talk about it, they don't want to hear it, they don't want to have a phone conversation, and the statement from Nathan Roberts was, either you're going to believe the truth or not. That's what he said, and then unfriended me. So there was no conversation beyond his statement. I wasn't able to reply without asking him to be friends again, which I'm not going to do. So they're the ones deciding, and I think I've made that point like 3 times now, so I'll stop. But my answer to that question is clear. Is there any paradise? There could be paradise if the person that has the works-based faith belief would be open to hearing more and having a dialogue and carrying on a friendship. But a lot of times they're not. As soon as you question their beliefs, or I wasn't even questioning beliefs, I was asking questions. I was asking questions of them to answer. Of course, the implication is it really based on what you do, or is it based on what Christ did specifically? And so they're the ones that made the decision to do that. Who hasn't answered this one yet? Comes to friendships of work-based faith people. Is there any paradise?
I'll go.
Paula?
So I'm gonna take paradise to mean like Jen was saying, love.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, absolutely. I know people that I'm close with that are in a works-based religion, and they know where I stand. And I think about it like this: if they don't ever come to the true saving faith in Christ alone for their salvation, this life is the only paradise that they'll ever have.
Mm-hmm.
And so I try to be extra good to them or do little nice things just because I think about that all the time. It's actually a quote, something like an unbeliever, like, this life is the only paradise they'll ever see. And if you're a true believer in God, this life is the only hell that you'll ever see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I think about that when things are rough. But I do think about people that are in these works-based faith. And the more I get to know them, the more I care about them, because, that just happens naturally, but also because I honestly believe the Bible. I honestly believe that there is paradise after this life. I don't think about it because I just can't imagine it.
Right.
But I do think about what it says, that there will be no pain and no sorrow, and that they'll never have that. So if they do never end up coming to believe in God, then, whatever I can do in any small way to make this life wonderful for them, I try to do it.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks, Paula. Who's left? Who hasn't answered this one yet? Jen?
I haven't, but I've been so focused on everyone else's answers. I don't know how to answer.
Okay. That's okay, Jen. Thank you.
I would agree, though, with Paula, definitely.
Okay.
I really relate to her answer.
Okay, perfect. Glenn, do you have a comment about this?
Ah, boy. I don't care what anybody believes, as long as their actions are that of a good, honourable person. I'm happy to be friends with them.
Okay.
See, I don't see there's any difference, because if you've got no belief in God, it doesn't really matter to me whether you're works-based or free grace or whatever you say. It's irrelevant. So therefore, I just treat everyone on face value. Makes it real easy, because I don't have any of that crap to deal with. And there is honestly so much of this stuff. I hear it and see it so often. This is probably the biggest issue that I see, is the payout between the works and the free grace. And I just struggle with wondering why it has to be like this. It just seems ridiculous, totally. And I can't answer it. You know better than I do, but it just seems a total waste of energy.
Hey, Glenn, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I thought you were done. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's okay. You want me to stay or go?
No, no, I wanted to ask you a question. Just because I know what you're talking about. When I hear people going back and forth, arguing grace and works, it is all the same. It is like a mess. But I'm wondering, have you ever listened to any of Matthias's broadcasts when he has someone on that's work-based?
I've listened to some, not that many, but Cripps has given me a whole heap of information, and I've seen a lot of broadcasts from others as well. I've heard from the Renee ones and Luke, and so I've done the rounds. Obviously not all of them, but yes, and there's so much animosity out there, and it's like hatred. It's really, it is a big shock to me, and I can't understand it. I really can't. I thought you're supposed to have the one God, but yet people get so pent up with all this stuff. I mean, I don't take sides, because I don't care, as I said, what you believe. The only side I would take is to the person who was acting was a degree of integrity. That's what I want to see, and I see that in many cases from both sides. But then you've got the other group who just are in takedown mode. And Paula, honest to goodness, I don't want to listen to it, to be honest. You get sick of it pretty quickly.
I don't want to listen to it either. I hate those conversations. It makes me sick to my stomach. It's disturbing what a lot of people have in their head of who God is and what's good to do for God, or it could literally be anything.
Yeah.
Anything. I mean, I run across all kinds of strange beliefs from people who are supposedly basing their beliefs on the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get it. It's never ending. When I think I've heard it all, then something new comes up. It's like, what? My goodness.
Yeah. Right.
It is a crazy mess. I'm absolutely sure it looks like that to the outside world. I didn't know this world existed until I became a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
It's intricate. There's all kinds out there. It's really a strange thing. I've never experienced anything like it before.
Yeah. And oh, so go ahead, Jen.
I was going to say, some of the things that make me sick is the amount of time and energy that is just put into these back and forth conversations sometimes.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, focus on Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense, right?
Yeah, I'm just like, I mean, I get it. I get that there's some importance to people getting scripture correct and making sure they don't have the false doctrine or a false gospel.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Sometimes the energy, the focus is just, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I agree.
What is the focus? Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's a tough pill to swallow, because if it begins to breed negativity, you cannot if their argument has the base of negativity, you cannot bring them yourself and establish a positive Christ-based base. Only God can do that.
Yeah.
And I mean, when is the let go and just say, you know what, I'm going to give this over to God? And because, like, I have to turn. Yeah, it isn't fruitful for me to hear that negativity. It just being brewed up.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
And I have to give props to Matthias, because he really does stay
Definitely.
calm. You know, I've heard some YouTube conversations and broadcasts, and it's just the negativity just it climbs. Like, I start actually getting anxiety watching. I'm like, I have to turn it off. No, this is not edifying.
The thing that I wanted to say that Glenn brought up, he said, you know, it seemed like they should have the same God and everything be worked out. And yeah, if that was true, if we all had the same God and we all had we're supposed to be, like Paul said, we're supposed to be of one mind, and there's supposed to be one gospel. So we have a different gospel. We have different gospels. You know, Paul was saying there's lots of stuff out there, and she's absolutely right. The oneness and dominionism, and oh my gosh, it goes on about these misinterpretations of Scripture, and the arguing comes from the head's butt on these different topics. Yeah, I want the same thing, Glenn. I want there to be one mind, one gospel, one love, and it all be the same, but it's not. So that's where the back and forth comes in. It would be nice if we could just do the broadcast and not have people come into the live chat and attacking us for believing in grace through Christ alone, through faith alone, with nothing added. That'd be great, but that's not the case. Now, TSL, we've been really, really blessed. The people that come in here, and I don't know if it's that the works-based people don't know that we exist, and that's fine. If that's the way it is, they don't come in here. Haven't had a whole lot of problem. I can count on 2 occasions when we had someone in here that was doing that, but they never came back. So it doesn't come up as much. But my point is, I would like it to be what Glenn wants it to be, where it's one God, one belief, that they all match and we all love each other, lovey-dovey, and it'd be the same thing. And it's just not going to happen here in this realm. It's not. And that's what paradise ends up being, everyone being on the same page, everyone that's there, realizing that it's Christ alone through faith alone with nothing added. And that's the only people that are going to be there. So there will be a paradise when it comes to that particular scenario. Okay, one last question and then we can call it a night. So finally, at what point does paradise end for a believer in a relationship with another believer, whether it be acquaintance, friendship, or marriage? What point does paradise end for a believer in a relationship with another believer, whether it be acquaintance, friendship, or marriage? And I'll go first. Simply in the scenario that I presented, it ends when the person blocks or unfriends me. They end it.
Which is disconnecting.
And they decide, they make the decision to end it. I don't. I wouldn't base, like I said, I wouldn't end it. I wouldn't unfriend them just because we have different beliefs. Otherwise, I wouldn't even have a show. This show, we have Glenn, who believes differently than us. We invite him into the dialogue, and he does the write-ups for the very reason of asking questions. That's what the whole purpose. I mean, that's the mechanism of the show. So I don't end my relationship with Glenn because he doesn't believe the same thing. It's proof, it's evidence that I don't do that. And my friend Marcus, that doesn't believe the same, doesn't believe in a lot of the things that I've said to him. He has come a long way from when we first started having these conversations. And even today, with this girl that he met, he was talking to her and talking about God with her. And I'm like, beside myself. I'm like, just even him being willing to have a conversation with someone like that, it shows progress. And so as long as the person stays in the relationship, then there's a opportunity for growth and change and paradise and moving on and love. And whether it be an acquaintance, a friendship, or a marriage, the paradise doesn't have to end if both people are connected and if they stay in a connected place, even with different beliefs. But if the person disconnects, thank you, Jen, for throwing that in there, because that's exactly what it is. When the person disconnects, it ends the chance for anything to develop. And it's them doing it. I don't ever want to disconnect from someone just based on different beliefs. Never have, never will. If they get to the point where they can't handle it, then they end it, and that's the way it ends, as far as I'm concerned. Anyone else?
I would say getting yoked up.
Oh, I was.
Do what?
It ends in getting yoked up.
Getting yoked up?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, I don't understand.
If they're of the same yoke.
Right. You can't be under. We're not supposed to.
Yeah.
Be under the same burden. So yoking up would be marriage.
Gotcha. Okay.
Business partner. I would work for a lost person or have a lost person work for me. Mm-hmm. But going in business partner, 50-50.
Yeah.
Where your moves affect that person's family and their moves affect your family. No, God tells us not to do that.
Yeah.
Just for our benefit, just because for our benefit. Uh-huh. So I would say that that the only place that acquaintance, friendship, just fine. Uh-huh. Marriage, and because that's yoked up too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's completely yoked.
Yeah.
So there's a few things in life where I just wouldn't go there with an unbeliever, but very few.
Right.
And so I think you have to understand when you make yourself more than vulnerable though. It's because it's yoking up is it's think of two oxen.
Yep.
Get yoked together as they're doing the work. If one falls, what's going to happen to the other? If both if one works well, what's going to help with the other?
It's going to work better.
Yep.
So, and then also when you're getting in a, well, and not just better, but also easier. It makes your life easier when you guys work together.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But it's more than just a superficial way. It's in keeping your head above water in life.
Yeah.
So you don't yoke up like that with somebody that's an unbeliever, I don't think.
Yeah. Glenn had mentioned in chat that this particular question was concerning two believers.
Right, but the question, I worked around it because the question's flawed. If it's a relationship with another believer, an actual believer, there's not a problem. There's no question without it being a disconnect between a believer and an unbeliever, or a false convert and a believer.
Gotcha.
I don't have any problem with a believer if we're both believing the same thing. Then there's no end to it. It is paradise. There's not an end. Like Matthias and I believe the same thing. There's no reason for me to end my relationship with him. We're both believers. We both believe. We may disagree on some non-fundamental things. I can't think of the words. I use non-fundamental.
Right.
Surface things. We might.
But I would go into business with you where I wouldn't with other people. Right.
So the question again implies that, so if there's two believers, then it's not like the question above where there's a works-based faith people that aren't believers, and then there's other grace-based believers that understand the fullness of the gospel and understand that it's faith alone through Christ alone with nothing added. We're not adding our works to it. So if a person's adding their works, I would have to take each individual case, but if they're relying on their works, then they're not relying on what Christ did. It's therefore they're not a believer. So I worked around it. He's right that he phrased the question, end for a believer in a relationship with another believer. There's no end. It is a paradise between two believers. I don't know what else to say about that. So I answered the best I could in what I thought was being asked there. So the other question responded to the specifically the works-based faith people versus the grace-based people. It doesn't say grace-based, but I'm assuming it's making the distinction. Who else wants to answer?
I will.
Okay.
Let me refresh my memory of what the question was.
Want me to read it to you?
Yeah, which one was it?
Yeah. Finally, at what point does paradise end for a believer in a relationship with another believer, whether it be acquaintance, friendship, or marriage? And before you answer, Glenn added, believers hurt each other, believers are human. So in a relationship with another believer, is there a way that the paradise ends for you, Paula, with another believer? So we're not talking about a works-based or a false convert. We're talking about someone that actually believes the correct gospel. What would end a relationship for you with them?
I liked what you said.
Okay.
About them unfriending you.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, see, I think it's the same thing that would split up unbelievers as friends. Same
Mm-hmm.
things.
Mm-hmm.
Only by pride cometh contention, the Bible says.
Yeah.
And we all have pride. And in fact, we actually have an example of two believers who split ways.
Okay.
And Paul and Barnabas in Acts 15, it says, and the contention was so sharp between them that they departed asunder one from the other. Mm-hmm. And these were both preachers of the gospel, and clearly they were having some issues with one another. But here's the thing that's interesting. As believers, we are brothers and sisters in Christ. And just as your fleshly brothers and sisters, you fight. Sometimes you fight.
Yeah.
You know, about dumb things, and maybe sometimes you don't talk to each other for a while. But even like my brother, I haven't talked to him in 9 years.
Wow.
He doesn't want to talk to me.
Right.
But he's my brother, and I love him dearly, and I don't reach out to him because I know he's extraordinarily uncomfortable with my faith,
Right.
and I'm just trying to respect that. But he's my brother. I'll always love him. I'll never say he's not my brother. I'll never not be there for him, regardless.
Right.
And I think that that's the way that we as heavenly brothers and sisters would actually be. Not even that we ought to be. I think that, you know, if God's living in all of us and he's the father of us, like, I think eventually Paul and Barnabas did make up. And if they didn't, then they laughed about it when they got to heaven, right?
Yeah. Well, you would.
Yeah, wouldn't you? I would think so. So yeah, I don't think it's much different from why unbelievers depart as friends. Only by pride cometh contention, and we all have that. So
I love that answer, Paul. Thank you so much for filling that in.
Thanks.
Did everyone get a chance to answer this last one?
Well,
I didn't.
Well, yeah, go ahead, Jen, and I'll re-answer because I was directing it. I didn't catch that.
Right.
Yeah. No, I just was going to say Paula stole my answer.
Okay.
It was a wonderful answer, and I too was going to say pride. It's definitely pride, but I loved what she added about us, you know, having a falling out with the same kind of things that we have with unbelievers. It's totally true, and pride really is at the root of it. And I've been guilty of that, you know, in the past, where pride got in the way.
Yeah.
And it is a shame. It's a shame because there have been a few friendships that I've they've come back around.
Yeah.
And then we've looked at it, both of us, and we're like kind of laughed at it and just saw how ridiculous it was. It's just like, oh geez. You know, especially when you get older and you get a little more mature and you're like, yeah, that was so immature and silly. But still validating each other's feelings and stuff. But yeah, pride's a big one.
Yep, sure is. Thanks, Jen. Go ahead, re-answer, Matthias, if you'd like to.
Well, I'd just say that if a believer starts preaching a false gospel, I would all have a really hard time thinking that they're a believer, but really hoping they don't believe what they're preaching. If they're preaching a false gospel, that would be a reason to disfellowship. Then also, I've got to obey the Bible. If they're a drunkard, a railer, a fornicator, extortioner, there's certain things that I just can't even sit down and eat with my brethren if they're actually doing it.
Right.
And that's just from a command from my from our equal Father. We're both children of God, and he's disobeying or she's disobeying. And if I even sit down and eat with him, now I become a disobeyer because I'm actually trying. I miss my friend or whatever the case may be. You know, so I wouldn't say the friendship's over because as soon as they repented of such thing, we welcome them back, open arms, like nothing happened. So it's not a broken relationship, and the discipline of broken fellowship should lead them to repentance, to turn towards the Father and do what he says, so to speak. But the relationship isn't gone. And then, like I said, if they're preaching a false gospel, it's got to be determined if they actually believe what they're preaching and they aren't actually believers, or they're so far going with every whim of doctrine that they need a good shaking. But, the Bible says when you rebuke a wise man, he'll love you for it. You rebuke a fool, he'll hate you.
Yep.
So trying to show somebody the truth of Scripture, and if they then hate you for it and you've only meant to do it in love, then it's kind of hard taking that verse and trying to come away with the person isn't a fool, which biblically speaking just means they don't believe.
Right. Perfect. Okay. Thank you, Matthias. All right, Glenn, do you have a comment about this last one, and then we'll wrap it up?
Yeah, I like Paula's answer. Actually, I thought it was really good. So I'm gonna ditto Paula.
Ditto Paula.
Then ditto.
I bet ditto. That's good. Good. Well, great show, guys. Appreciate all the panel answers and you guys being here tonight. As always, thank you so much. Thank you again, Glenn, for doing such a fantastic write-up that allows us to have these conversations and stretch our minds around the questions and to come up with answers in real time. And it's still a pleasure for me. I look forward to these broadcasts, and as long as we keep being honest, intellectually honest, and I don't see that changing. So we're getting down to the nitty gritty on some of this stuff, and I couldn't be more thrilled about the way it's turned out. Thank you to all the folks in the chat for being here as well. I love the conversations. I try to keep up as much as possible with things. So appreciate you guys so much for coming back again and again and again, and I hope you guys have a great week. We do have a testimony on Thursday with Dennis, scheduled for 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday, and Jen and I will have a discussion with him. And I wanted to ask you, Joseph, if you want to be a part of that. I didn't ask Dennis that, but you guys are close, so if you feel like you want to be a part of that as well.
Yeah, that would be incredible.
Yeah, we don't want to,
Wow.
interrupt him and stuff and all that.
No.
But I'm sure that you have talked to him enough so you can throw questions in or just be there to encourage if you want to. So think about that and let me know.
I'm sure he'd appreciate the support.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to support him.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be just remarkable, actually.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. We'll say our good night, starting from left to right with Glenn. Glenn, say good night to the peoples.
Good night. Thanks for coming. Look forward to seeing you next week. And come visit Australia. It's great.
Yeah. Great. Before you go, Jen, LC says, didn't get a laugh out of you, Cripps. I'll continue to work on that. I didn't see what you said. Put it in there again, and I will
Chuckle.
Yeah, I'll chuckle. I'll at least chuckle. I don't want to leave you out in the cold there, LC, my friend. Go ahead, Jen. Say goodnight to the peoples.
Good night, people. It was so great hanging out with you guys. Great write-up, Glenn. Awesome questions. This is like my brain trip to the gym. It's like the brain, what is it? A CrossFit? Something?
Yeah, CrossFit brain.
Brain boot camp.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, it's just wonderful. And I loved hearing all of y'all's answers on the panel. It's so great because by hearing all of y'all's answers, it just opens up a whole other way to get to know each of you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great to get to know you guys better. It's just such an honor.
Yeah,
so thanks. Good night, chat. Love you guys.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. Joseph?
Hey, just a pleasure. A lot of thinking, a lot of growing again.
Mm-hmm.
Just a pleasure to be a part of this.
Well,
Thank you. Good night, chat.
Yeah, we're glad to have you, Joseph. Thank you. All right, and Paula, you're next. Say goodnight to the peoples.
Good night, peoples. It was fun once again. Thanks to Glenn for the great brain stretching questions. Maybe one day we can put together some questions for Glenn.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting. Put you in the hot seat.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You up for that, Glenn? You up for another round of questions for you?
Sure.
Okay.
I used to be scared shitless off the cuff. Now I don't worry about it.
Nice. Awesome.
Practice.
Well, hopefully you're comfortable enough with this panel at least. You know, it seems like you are. Doesn't seem like you're squirming around too much.
You're not too bad.
Well, that's
Not
good.
too bad. You know, 5 out of 10.
Yeah, that's 5. That's high praise from you. We'll take it.
You can aspire to greatness if you wish.
Okay.
Thanks.
Paul, it's a pleasure to have you on the panel, and Joseph too, the 2 newest members of the panel. We're glad to
Yes, it
have
really
you guys.
is, guys.
You bring a lot to the table, so we appreciate you very much.
Yeah, of course.
Matthias, say goodnight to the peoples, my friend.
Good night, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did, and I appreciate everybody on the panel. Glenn, the questions, they really are thought-provoking, so keep them coming. And, you know, I'm trying not to think too biblically when I answer them, but I just can't help sometimes. So, I do apologize, but I do enjoy your questions.
No apology needed.
No.
Matthias. I think you're doing a way better job. It took you a while, I think, to change the way that you look at things a little bit, and you still answer from a biblical perspective, but at least now it seems like it doesn't trip you up as much. So that's good. Good stuff.
Oh, and I do want to say that I know you don't. I know you don't take offense to it, Glenn, but from a lost person. When I say lost, I don't mean. I never even thought about how that could be offensive until we tried changing it before. And so it's not that I haven't tried, it's that I couldn't do it. It's just in my language. So I try to, the fact that you put it in quotes, I do want to say that I'm sorry for not being able to, but it's kind of embedded in me, but it doesn't mean any disrespect. I mean, so I do want to just apologize.
Okay. Glenn, do you have any comment you want to make in response to that? No?
I just made it in chat. I just said it's okay, Matthias. I might say you are a loser, but I'm too polite.
Hey, I know I'm a loser.
Hendrick says, ouch, LOL. That's good. Good one. All right. That's it for tonight, guys. Thanks again for joining us on another episode of True Story Live, and we'll see you again next week on Sunday. Join us Thursday for testimony from Joseph's friend Dennis. It's going to be very exciting, and so we'll all be here for that Thursday night at 9 p.m. And join Matthias and myself tomorrow night, Monday's Milk and Untalking Doctrine. Be there for that.
Yeah.
All right. That's it. Hope you guys have a great week. Until next week, good night. God bless and take care. Thanks a lot.